Hello and welcome to Fin Business. I'm in conversation with Monish Shah from Deloitte. Monish, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much.
So we have seen a lot of digital development specifically into BFSI sector in last 4 to 5 years. Many fintechs are rising in the country and there are many solution companies giving solutions to the BFSI sector. I would like to learn from you, what kind of trends have you seen specifically into the financial sector in last 2 years?
It's a very interesting question, and I think that the way the space has been emerging, I think it's been extremely exciting. I think that there are a lot of solutions which have come to the fore which focus on solving the financial services issues for country as a whole and a lot of our geographies as well. So if you ask me, innovations which would really make a difference in India will be innovations which increase the access of the customers at the last mile. So all kind of innovations which create the last mile connectivity with the client, using the physical outreach with a digital footprint, those kind of innovations will come to the fore. I also think that a lot of innovations which capture and create an economic identity for the customer is going to be extremely important. So what we're seeing is that the amount of unstructured data which is now available in the Indian market is humongous, and fintechs which convert those data into insights and into actions are somewhat going to be more successful than the rest of them. And I think these are the kind of innovations which are going to make a big difference going forward. Lastly, I think that there will be a lot of innovations which will use blockchain and open architecture APIs, which will transform the way customer is getting serviced as well as validation of data per se. So the robustness of transactions is going to improve, the visibility is going to improve, and that is going to evolve a new way of assessing risk and reducing the cost as well. So these are some of the innovations which we see are going to make a difference in the next coming years.
So when we speak about the innovations, when we speak about the fintechs, collaboration is one aspect because most of the fintechs offer solutions to the BFSI companies. The collaboration and the integration is one of the major part. What are the major challenges between the banks and the financial companies and fintechs when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to integration?
We've worked with a lot of banks as well as with fintechs. So some of the areas where we still see a bit of a friction between the two entities is to sort of arrive at a common ground around the innovation that they would want to target. So banks have very complex systems. They have very complex structures as well on one hand, and fintechs on the other hand actually are characterized by a very, very flat structure and cutting edge technology and so on and so forth. So where the meeting of mind happens is where they talk about customer friction, because customer friction is an area which both of them understand very well.
Right.
So areas where there's a meeting of mind around the areas that they want to solve for customer friction are the areas where they collaborate well. And the areas where it's still open is that the operationalization of it. So how much of banking ecosystem would be available to the fintechs, for example? What will be the commercial model? Proof of concept is much easier to implement, but how do you commercialize it? What would be the cost and how the sharing of revenues would happen? Banks have huge size as well as huge bargaining power as compared to fintechs, and that is not really necessarily a level playing field. So we are seeing a host of fintechs. Basically, you could classify them into three broad areas. One are fintechs who are basically B2B kind of fintechs, which will provide their products and services which weave into the banks. So they will never interact with customers directly, but they will enable the banks to interact with customers better. The second kind of fintechs are what we call as B2C fintechs, which focuses directly on the end customers. There the challenges are very different. So they need size, they need scale, and they need a lot of capital as well. The third kind of fintechs are basically platform fintechs, which are agnostic. They create platforms and they're open to either banks using them or other fintechs using them, or a third party, for example, a retail company using them. In terms of value creation per se, I think that fintechs which have a direct connect with the customers themselves and who build scale on their products and customer base will be the fintechs will create a lot of value for themselves per se.
Right.
Not that other fintechs will not have value within the ecosystem, but if you look at who are the next unicorns going to be, those fintechs which have a large customer interaction and customer focus are likely to be a better candidates for unicorns.
When you say about the value creation, Now, most of the fintechs, are partnering with banks, and most of the financial services companies are also, collaborating with the fintechs. And looking at the number of fintechs rising in India, I would like to take your perspective on, are they really creating that value? What is your perspective on that typical value creation? Because at the end of the day, every fintech has to be successful, has to be profitable, has to be measurable, and he has to have a scalability as well. So, are they really creating a value?
I think by the nature of the industry itself, we will have a very small percentage of fintechs succeeding or becoming commercially viable. What excites about fintechs is that the ability to do an agile development, a fast rollout, and maybe it's fine to fail fast also, because it helps the ecosystem per se. So I don't think that the basic model will change per se. However, I think that what will happen is that as an ecosystem develops, you will have a ecosystem which allows a large number of fintechs to either come together as a part of an ecosystem, or banks opening up to multiple fintechs as well. So competition is going to increase, and competition always sort of breeds the best. So the differentiating factors for fintechs would be, one is access to capital, because that is extremely crucial. The idea might be great, the platform might be great, but there needs to be not just intellectual capital, but financial capital as well to boost it.
Right.
So capital is going to be very crucial. The technology and the product which works are going to be table stakes, right? So there will be competing fintechs within the same space as well, and hence collaboration will become extremely important as well. That how are you, who are your partners, how are you going about making a difference in the market, how are you reaching to the customer is going to be crucial.
So yes, collaboration is one of the important aspects, but my last point is, again, when you said financial capital is very crucial for the fintechs. What are the major challenges fintechs face when raising the capital? I have seen a lot of fintechs have raised the seed capital, but when they actually at the crucial moment, it's very tough for them to raise the capital. So what are the major challenges they face there to raise the next round of funding or the capital?
The ability to scale is something which is extremely crucial, and we've seen a lot of fintechs have not really thought beyond how will they survive beyond 18 months, and that's one of the main reasons why we think that there are fintechs who have not been so successful. So while they would address the market for a specific problem for a limited period of time, the key challenge is that how scalable the model is. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of them have got the seed capital, they do a successful proof of concept, but they're not really able to scale it up. The second bit is around commercialization of that idea as well, and there is a shelf life for each wave. So unless you catch the wave and you're able to surf on it, there is a next wave which is always going to come on, right? So how are you going to make sure that you're on top of the wave and you have sort of reached the shore with the vision that you had in mind? So that's the sort of the other challenge as well. The third challenge, I think, is around the intellectual capital itself. That because it's a very, very fast burning kind of an industry, it sees a lot of churn of human capital, and that also sort of adds to the complexity of running businesses successful for 3 years. So if you have an employee turnover which is 50% or higher, it's very, very difficult to build a sustainable business model. So those are the challenges which I think a lot of fintechs face today.
Great, Monish. Thank you so much for those comprehensive
Thanks a
insights.
lot. Pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching.